and welcome to another episode of Nights Around the Fire. I'm glad you can join us. I'm here with Sue Taylor, one of our researchers, and today we're going back to our roots. We're going back to
Bigfoot.
Now, as you know, we've had a few other videos on Bigfoot, and if you haven't watched those videos, they're on our channel. Go and watch. And while you're at it, please consider subscribing to the channel, squatching the like button,
that like button,
and share the videos with as many people as you can. So today, Bigfoot, huh, Sue?
Yep, we're going to talk about Bigfoot.
Local Bigfoot here in Washington County.
Yeah, I really want to deep dive into Washington County's Bigfoot today because I found when I was researching this week, I found some interesting data about Bigfoot here in Washington County, and I thought we could talk through it tonight and bounce each other's theories off of each other.
Just for you folks to know, we've both grown up in Washington County all of our lives, so we're very familiar with, and I personally am very familiar with just about every corner of the county.
So let me ask, have you always lived in town or have you lived in the country?
I lived in town. I lived about 10 miles from here, which was country, for about 18 years.
Mm-hmm. So I grew up in the country. I grew up in Venetia for a little while, and I lived in 84 for a while. So I always thought that was super rural, but there are even more rural places than that here in Washington County.
About how much are we talking about? We talk rural. How many people live in rural areas here?
32% of the population, and as of the 2020 census, we had 209,000 people living here in Washington County.
Okay, so imagine this, when I grew up, was mostly a rural county. Farms on farms on farms. And we had our towns. We had some of the more urban sprawl. But I'd say much more than 32% of our population at that time lived in the country. So it's shrinking.
So let's talk about Washington County for a little bit. So Washington County was founded March 28th, 1781. And can you guess who Washington County was named after?
Oh, President George Washington?
There you go.
I got something right.
Yay. Yes, it was named after one of the presidents. I don't remember which one he was, but George Washington. And George Washington, if you come to the area, there's a lot of places where you can see that like Washington stayed there and like Washington passed through, because Washington County was the site of the 1791 to 1794 Whiskey Rebellion, which is still commemorated every July.
Every July 4th.
In downtown Washington, because we do have two major cities in Washington County. Can you guess what both of them are?
Washington?
Washington is one. Do you know what the other one is?
Canonsburg.
No. Our thriving town here is not one of them. The other one is actually Monongahela.
Oh. Okay.
So for context, Monongahela is right on the Mon River and was an old steel town. So it was once my mom and my grandparents were from Monongahela. So it was a thriving metropolis at one point in history.
Interesting.
Yeah. No Bigfoot in Monongahela that I know of, though.
Okay. So being that this is a Bigfoot video, I guess we're going to talk about where the sightings, if there are any, have happened in this county.
But I'm going to give you a fun fact about Washington County first that you might not even know. Washington County, Pennsylvania was the site of the first crematory in the United States of America.
Interesting.
It was, and it was up there in Washington. It was, what was it? It's Crematory Road?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe, I don't know, maybe that's a place we should go take pictures of.
We may go there. I'm sure there's some interesting things we can find out about that.
Yeah.
So Bigfoot in Washington County, I know from the researchers that have kind of been through our town and have had some seminars in town at the library, there has been sightings of Bigfoot here.
There have. And so how squatchy would you rate, to quote the Fine Crew at Finding Bigfoot, how squatchy do you think you would rate Washington County?
Probably around a 3.
Which is kind of surprising because, like I said, I grew up in the country and I loved Bigfoot, so I was always convinced that like Bigfoot lived in our woods and all of this stuff. And when I lived on the farm, I was sure he was out in the barn or something, down in the hollows, the valleys, and all that. And yeah, Washington County is about a 3, but it wasn't always a 3 because, like you said, some of the researchers who have come through have found otherwise.
And I know that having grown up here, I do know that there was a lot more rural area, a lot more country, a lot more what I would consider unexplored areas in the county for the average person. So there's enough space for a creature that size to actually thrive and live here back in the day.
So we're going to talk about an area that's very close to us. We are going to put it up on the screen. It's a map of an area called West McMurray Road, which is about 2 miles from where we're sitting right now?
Yes, if that, yes.
Yeah, probably throw a stone if we threw it hard enough.
Yes.
So I looked at 2 organizations when we looked at this. I looked at the Pennsylvania Bigfoot Society, or the PBS, and I looked at the Bigfoot Research Organization to find some documented cases of what we had. And I found it very interesting. Between the years of 1992 and 1994, there were 4 Bigfoot sightings of various types of creatures, one that even had footprints documented on West McMurray Road.
Okay, so that was just before the development came in.
Yeah, because let's think about what's on McMurray Road right now. Like, I take McMurray Road probably 3-4 times a week, if not more, because for anyone not in the area, McMurray Road is a very big kind of throughway.
Yeah.
It's been built up with businesses, it's been built up with housing plans. It connects up to Route 19 or over to I-79. You can see in the map that I picked, you can see where 79 is in relation to where we're talking about. But if you look at that map, you can also see that there are some railroad tracks, and Chartiers Creek runs along there.
Right. And I remember before it was developed, there was basically a mental hospital there.
Yeah, it was called Western Center. I vaguely remember Western Center. My mom used to tell the story that when they would go to visit my grandfather's family, they would see the kids out in the fields picking cabbage. Yeah. And they were always told that if you were bad, Krampus wasn't going to come for you, but you were going to get sent to Western Center with all the other bad kids.
That's right. And of course, that hospital was very old.
And the building was creepy. I didn't look to see if we could find any pictures of it, but the building, there's some places there we should go check out. There's some old cemeteries there. And
there's a lot of history there. But the county came in and decided to level it all. A lot of the people that were there were forced into the streets. People that were mentally ill were forced into the streets, which was a big deal back then. And they leveled it and built South Point.
So, yeah, let's clarify. We're not talking about, like, 1950s.
No.
We're talking about, like, late 90s to early 2000s, because I started working in South Point in 2005 or 2006. And some of the buildings from Western Center were still there. I moved back into this area in 2005, and the main building was definitely still there, as well as some of the outbuildings were still there. So that's 21 years ago.
Yeah, there's a lot of history there, and of course, there's a lot of space. Now, we're talking Washington County. Now, remember, Washington County borders Allegheny County, and there's no real fence, so the two kind of butt there. You can pretty much walk from there and walk into Allegheny County through many of the rural areas, which now are developed. Mm-hmm. So a Bigfoot wouldn't have any issue finding a home there, would he?
No, and especially with Chartiers Creek running there. Chartiers Creek's a pretty good-sized creek. When flooding occurs in this area, Chartiers Creek's a big problem. Mm-hmm. And so it's a good water source for an animal of that size. When did they build 79 along that way?
79 was built in 1977, I believe.
Okay, so 79 would have been there. That would have been different, but there were still other places for it to hide.
Yes,
along there.
Now, before that was built, my mother would take me up to the ramp that was blocked off at the time and show me the interstate and explain to me what it was about, and that was fascinating because it was the height of our basically building America's roads. But before that, which would have been a few years before that, that had been all rural area.
And we're also talking now, like the Montour Trail runs along there. So there's still There's still a rural aspect of it now, but it has most definitely been built up. There's golf courses out there now. There's restaurants. There's multiple housing developments of brand new houses.
Homes we can't afford.
Oh God, no.
Okay, and which is all they build here now.
Yeah.
So Sue, so we had sightings.
We had sightings, and it was interesting because some of the sightings reference seeing the creatures were, some of them reference being 12 feet tall. One of them got some footprints that were about 18 inches long, which is...
That's a big creature.
That's a big creature. And some of them cited that they had glowing green eyes.
No, that's a new one.
Yeah, I've heard from reading books and hearing stories, I've heard a lot of different colors of eyes for Bigfoot. Green, yellow, red. I don't know what he puts on his driver's license.
Yeah.
But it's very, I thought that was very interesting. They all described the same type of creature, very large, covered in hair. They were seen like passing through people's backyards. They were seen climbing over the hillside down to the creek. Because at that point in the early 90s, it was still rural, but they would have had to avoid the traffic areas. So you would think about if those creatures were still living in this area, let's say they had been living in this area since the beginning of time, since George Washington came through for the Whiskey Rebellion, they would have been adapting to learn about
humans.
Yeah, and what the humans were doing. So they would have had to have learned, like, okay, I've got to stay away from the highway. I've got to stay away from these lights. I've got to stay away from the houses, which these guys didn't seem to be too good with. 3 of the sightings were in the summer, and 1 was in the winter.
Okay. So what we're dealing with here is a creature with some intelligence, and you'd have to know this creature would have some intelligence.
Let me toss something else out to you. Or is this a portal being? Was he just accustomed to coming through his... I don't think Bigfoot's an alien or a portal being, but do we think he was just coming through the portal he was used to coming through and was just popping in to check on his old stomping grounds?
Yes, you don't know. I mean, for those of you that may be confused, many Bigfoot researchers, not a lot, but many people like us, some of them believe that Bigfoot is an alien or was placed here by aliens. We don't believe that. And some believe that he's a portal being. It means he can go and find portals. Doesn't create them. I don't believe that they believe he creates the portal.
No, he just comes in and out of...
He knows where they're at.
Out of his portals. And
there's science behind that. We know that there are places that are thin, that creatures like that might sense and be able to use to escape. But again, we don't know, but it is possible, right? Because after the 90s, we haven't heard much about Bigfoot.
No. So let's talk about a couple of other sightings. You and I were talking about this before we came on camera. There was some over on North Strabane, which were probably only about a mile or so from where I used to live.
Okay.
And there used to be a golf course over there. I don't remember the name of it, but it was right off of Route 519. That's 519
yes.
that runs through there. It was right off of 519. And supposedly there were 2 dark, hairy creatures seen crossing Route 519 there. And this was also in the 90s. And so if you think about these sightings over on McMurray Road, which probably would have been, about 6-8 miles away?
Not far.
From there?
Yeah,
For a creature that size, it would probably have taken them 15 minutes to walk with that span.
Yeah.
But so... that was that is still, well, not anymore. That was still a very rural part of Washington County up until about 10, 15 years ago. So it was less developed than the West McMurray Road area until those few years ago. So it's possible that those things could have been more prevalent in that area at that time because there were just fewer people.
Right. Now, to explain this, like a lot of places, we're 22 miles from downtown Pittsburgh. So urban sprawl takes place, and I'm not a big fan of it. And the last county or the last township in this area, North Strabane, had a massive amount of rural area. Mm-hmm. And, of course, being that that's the case, that was that way for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, of course. But as Sue mentioned, it's now being developed in a big way. And of course, this is going to affect, we believe, Bigfoot.
Well, and so think about it this way. I see deer in my backyard every single day. And I live right in the middle of Canonsburg. I live a block off of Pike Street, which is the main drag in Canonsburg. And you hear all the time about people in Peters Township, Bethel Park, complaining about deer coming into their yards. And we have always said the problem is that we're building houses on their habitat. Well, what if deer aren't the only animal that we're building on their habitat?
Exactly.
And I always thought that part of like Nottingham, North Strabane was super rural, and now it's not anymore. It's not like it was when I was young and really thought that, but now it's really built up, and now there's just really, if we're talking about a 12-foot creature,
yeah,
like there's just really, you couldn't hide a 12-foot creature in those woods anymore.
Yeah, being rural is now a perspective. What we thought was rural 25 years ago is no longer rural here.
No.
And that's not just here. I mean, of course, there are very rural parts of western Pennsylvania and southwestern Pennsylvania, but this isn't one of them. This is a county that's being overrun by development. And of course, as Sue mentioned, it's going to interfere with the migration and patterns of animals.
So one thing that all of the people that come into this area in recent years like to do is play golf.
Yes.
There are a lot of golf courses in Washington County. If you like to play golf, like I've got a friend who loves to play golf, and this is the place for all of you who love to play golf to come. So don't look for Bigfoot here, but you can come and play golf. And I bring this up because there is a golf course it's in the North Strabane Township area. It's kind of without a map, like Dave and I are here, it's here, and then the more of the Nottingham, North Strabane area are over here. And the Bigfoot researcher from Ohio who has come through this area has documented sightings of Bigfoot on the Lindenbrook golf course.
That's right next to the lake.
It is, which again, a water source, like, is this thing coming around looking for water sources?
Yeah, there's definitely something to that, I believe. If you're going to live in an area, you're going to need water and food. Plenty of deer, plenty of other types of vegetation, and plenty of water.
And maybe that's why we have so many deer in Canonsburg now, because one of their other natural predators has moved out of the area.
Yeah. I mean, we don't have a lot of bear either here.
No, we don't.
So we can't blame the sightings on bears.
No, and I don't think we've had a bear sighting in this area in years. Like, we do have a lot of coyote. Like, there are definitely a lot of coyote. I made a comment a couple of years ago to a friend that I lived in Canonsburg, so I didn't have to worry about coyote. And she said, well, we have coyote running down Main Street in Washington.
Yeah.
So okay, I'm going off on another side here, so bear with me. In some of the books I've read, Bigfoot follows coyotes around.
Really?
Yeah, Bigfoot and coyotes stick together. So is Bigfoot still here and he's just hiding really well? Or did Bigfoot leave and the coyotes stayed?
Well, coyotes can hide. Bigfoot probably can't.
Coyotes are a little smaller than Bigfoot, yes.
Right. And again, keep in mind, we're dealing with a creature that's probably 1,500 pounds.
Yeah.
And again, between 8 and 12 foot high. So we're tall. So the more development that comes in, the more of those. And I grew up, and I'll say this, when I grew up, even in town, there were plenty of secret places you could hide in redwoods and old buildings. It was a different world in this town when I grew up. A little more 40s-like homes and 40s-like design and development. But as things changed, you can't really find it. There's still these back alleys that are cleaned up. The lights are there. It's not like it was back in the day. And for Bigfoot, I'm assuming he sees the same thing that today isn't like it was 20 years ago.
And if we're dealing with an intelligent creature, like, I know the deer in my backyard are smart enough to know that there's a fence between them and my dogs, so they don't have to really get concerned about getting away from the fence when my dogs come out. And so if deer can recognize this, I'm sure Bigfoot looks at people and says, this is not a safe area for me, because there are other documented cases of Bigfoot knowing what guns are, knowing what humans are, knowing how to avoid things like trail cameras, and intentionally staying away from humans because they know that humans can be dangerous to them.
And humans are dangerous, period, let alone to other animals. So what we're talking about here is they now have not been sighted in quite a while.
Not here
that we know of.
Not here in our little area of Canonsburg, North Strabane, but let's talk about Avella.
Okay, now we're going rural when we go to Avella.
Yeah, Avella is a more rural area, and Avella, Pennsylvania is a very interesting place because Avella is the site of some of the oldest inhabitants in North America. And we're talking going back 16,000 years.
Yes.
And we'll put a picture on the screen. That is at the Meadowcroft Rock Shelter, which you can go visit. We could go check. I've been there before. We could go check that out. I think it's open in the summer. So we could go see that too, do some recordings there too. But Meadowcroft's a neat little place.
It is. Very interesting. And once again, it's historic as you get.
Yes. Yes. And so Avella is a very rural area. And if you really want to see, I watched an episode of Mountain Monsters to talk about this tonight.
That probably took some alcohol, I'm sure.
That took so I put it on while I was working, and I will honestly admit that I did not get through the entire episode because it was pretty bad, guys. Like, I'm sorry if any of you are a big Mountain Monsters fan, but that was bad.
It's as bad as you get.
Like, they're screaming, like, there he is, and they're shooting, and like they're putting traps together for this thing. But the moral of the story is they were in Avella, and they were looking for the Dust Man in Avella. Now, Avella, like we talked about, is a very rural area. Is that where Cross Creek Lake is?
Yes.
Is in Avella? Cross Creek Lake is beautiful. We used to go out there a lot.
More towards West Middletown, but it's in that area.
It's a beautiful area, and there's lots of places for a creature of Bigfoot's size to hide.
Yeah.
But what I found interesting was on Mountain Monsters, they would bring some people in who had supposedly seen the creature, which might have mean it was their buddy who worked the camera or something like that, because as rural as Avella is, there's no credible cases of Bigfoot in Avella, Pennsylvania.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, in fact, Avella, and I have known friends that live in Avella. I've been there many, many, many times, and I never had the feeling that there were actually Bigfoot there. But what I had the feeling of, it was haunted because West Middletown and some of these villages are as creepy as you get.
And so Avella is home to the Shades of Death Road.
Yes, you'll be seeing a episode on that on this channel. Stay tuned for that.
Dave is very excited to get out to Shades of Death Road, but I believe you can take Shades of Death Road to Meadowcroft Rock Shelter.
Yeah.
So that's actually that's the whole connection of the area that we're seeing. So stay tuned for more on that. So let's move on a little bit let's talk about Claysville. Okay,
Claysville, another fairly rural, has been built up more recently.
Yes.
But rural.
I don't think I've been to Claysville. I don't think I've been to Claysville in 10 or 15 years. My mom had some friends that lived out the Claysville way. So it's been a while since I've been out there, but yes, it is pretty built up. Also in the 90s, there is a story that I found online that I cannot corroborate anywhere else, especially with these two Bigfoot organizations that I looked at, where there were two brothers who were out at Dutch Fork Lake. She'll put a picture of it on the screen. They were out fishing and supposedly saw this giant hairy creature out at Dutch Fork Lake, which, again, body water.
Right.
So all of these sightings are connected around water. Like, there just seems to be something. And in the 90s, if these ones on West McMurray were being seen around Chartiers Creek, had we taken their pond or their lake, whatever, because there was Lake Joanne that was here. There were a couple of other lakes in the area, like Peters Lake, Canonsburg Lake.
And Peters Lake's still there.
It's all still there, but
again, very populated around it.
Yeah, you go there in the summer, there's going to be all kinds of people there. There's houses built up around it, businesses, restaurants built up around it.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're there and you're a Bigfoot, you're going to say, I get a bad feeling about this.
Yeah, so and in the 90s, like, you could still, but a creature of that size would have known that it was going to be seen.
Yeah.
So, and if it didn't want to be seen, it wasn't going to go around one of the lakes, so maybe it thought Chartiers Creek was a safer place.
Okay, so we had sightings. Now, I guess we can look at it this way. What happened to them? If they didn't portal out of here or get sucked up by a spaceship, which we don't believe, they migrated then.
That is what I think. I actually think, and we're going to talk about one of the hottest spots in the state for Bigfoot sightings in 2 weeks.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned, like and subscribe so that you can come back and make sure you find us, because if you don't, you're not going to be able to find us again.
Yeah, right.
So, like Bigfoot, you won't be able to spot us again. But it was I think they moved out to the center of the state, which there was just recently a very credible sighting of a Bigfoot crossing I-80 out near State College.
That's Penn State, if you didn't know. And again, very rural area.
Hashtag we are.
Yeah. I'm not a big Penn State fan. I'm sorry. But we'll go from there. So that's the latest sighting was someone saw him crossing Interstate 80.
Yeah, and that's a pretty easy video to find. I found some like Johnstown State College area news reports on that one, where there's actually some video out there, and it looks like a big creature just strolling across I-80
on two legs.
Yep.
Okay, not a bear. A bear's not going to walk across the interstate on two legs.
No, if a bear is going to cross the interstate, a bear is going to try to get across the interstate as quickly as it possibly can.
So migration, and I'm guessing that like any creature, and this is a science, there is a science to migration. Creatures and animals and even people migrate for pretty much the same reason.
They started building up Washington County. Bigfoot ran out of safe spaces. So they moved into areas that were much safer, aka the Allegheny National Forest.
A beautiful place. And again, a place you wouldn't be caught alone in a storm, because it is vast, mountainous, and rural.
I will say my friend and I took a weekend trip up to the Kinzua Bridge. Beautiful. A few years ago. And I'm going to talk about the Bigfoot sightings at the Kinzua Bridge in 2 weeks, because Kinzua Bridge is a very big Squatch area. But yeah, before we went up there, I stopped and bought myself some pepper spray so that we did not go out into the Allegheny National Forest without anything to protect us.
Well, Sue doesn't like snakes.
Or poison ivy.
I don't know
how pepper spray works on snakes.
I don't know that it does.
I don't know that it does either.
Might just eat it.
Yeah. I like it.
Yeah, I'm sure that Bigfoot, and again, folks, we're hypothesizing here, of course. But ultimately, if you had sightings here and they're no longer here, and there has been a massive influx of homes being built, people coming in, creatures, and I'm guessing something that size would have to kind of move, would have to migrate somewhere else. It felt safer. And it probably migrated more than once.
Probably. And you could think about, it could have gone down. We're right above Greene County, which is right above the Maryland border, West Virginia border. Mm-hmm. So it could have headed down into the mountains of West Virginia, which maybe we'll do a deep dive into some of the, like, right over the border, West Virginia sightings.
Well, for those of you that don't know, Greene County is claimed to be one of the most haunted counties in America. And then very rural county too, coal mining area. And you go into West Virginia. Now you know, and I know, and Sue knows, that that's a vast wilderness with just as many monsters being reported there as any other state by number. So I'm guessing that if it's going to find refuge, going east or south was its best bet.
Yeah, those are great places for it to head. I glanced at the Bigfoot sightings in Greene County, and they are there on these two maps, because I wanted to stick to these two organizations because they are the two most reliable, respected sources for Bigfoot sightings. So let's actually talk about Prosperity, Pennsylvania, for a second.
Okay.
Another rural area. Another small town. Has it been built up in the last few years?
There have been homes built there, yes. Not to the extent here, but yes, it's been developed.
What about like 78, 79?
Not sure that that's developed in any way.
Okay. So according to the BFRO, Bigfoot Research Organization, there is a credible audio howl of a Bigfoot in Prosperity, Pennsylvania. And the Bigfoot Research Organization really tracks credible sources of, okay, somebody saw something and it was doing this. Somebody heard something and it sounded like this. Somebody just saw something on the side of the road and they don't really know what it was. Somebody looked outside, saw a shadow. So they kind of have our tier rating system of like really credible to
shady.
Probably not.
Yeah.
So this one, I believe, got to like the second tier. Like, okay, there could be something there on this one. And this one, you can find the how online. I've got a link in my outline that we can link in with the video. I hate to say it, Dave. I didn't hear anything. And at least 3 of my 6 dogs were sleeping in my office when I played the video. And I didn't get a reaction out of anybody.
So if it was there, they didn't hear it.
Yeah. So I don't know. I trust the Bigfoot research organization because they have deep dived to Bigfoot more than I have. But I, as a casual viewer, did not see anything.
And that's the truth about a lot of mysteries. We don't always get the best information. We get people who mean well, and they can't explain what they've seen, or they can't document it. They don't know how to. And it could be a really good sighting, but they just can't, bring it across to the people who are investigating.
Now, what's a really good one that you can find on YouTube, and we talked about in our first Bigfoot video, that Columbiana Bigfoot howl.
Yeah.
Oh, man, that Columbiana Bigfoot howl, there is something there.
Let me play that right now.
Yeah.
Okay, that definitely has been investigated by a lot of folks, and most people that have listened to it and pretty much tried to analyze it believe it's the real deal.
I guess that could be somebody faking it. Like, there's always, especially when we talk about the Fresno night crawlers next week, we're going to talk about faking things, but it could always be a fake. But that sounds very valid. And from every book I've read, every video I've watched, that sounds like the sound that they have described.
Yeah. And let's be honest, folks, we can debunk everything and say that doesn't sound like what it should sound like. What do we know? The thing is, a lot of people try very hard to document Bigfoot, the sounds it makes. They try very hard. And a lot of these people are very honest people. They're not out to make money. I don't know that anybody's made any massive amounts of money on books or any of these videos or a 5-second audio. The truth is, most people believe that's a legitimate sound of a Bigfoot by people who've researched this for years. So guess what? I'm going to err on that side. I'm going to say, listen, there's a good chance that's what it was.
Because we're talking about a creature. I remember one time we were at the Bigfoot researcher at the library, and somebody said, well, what do we think their lifespan is? Well, you can't judge the lifespan of a creature that you don't know exists. So you can't say for sure. Like, I can say, like, a dog goes woof, a cow goes moo, a pig goes oink. Like, you can't say, well, this is absolutely the sound that a Bigfoot makes. That's why they don't put them on speak and says for babies. Because they just don't know the sound because we haven't proved they existed.
They don't know. Yeah, I think we all, have our doubts about a lot of the mysteries that we cover here. We've actually debunked a few of them, or at least didn't agree with some of the folks that believed like Lake Lanier was actually cursed. It might be haunted, but it's not cursed.
Not really cursed, yeah.
There's a lot of fine lines here, folks. But the truth is, there's a lot of good people that go out, spend their own time and money to investigate, and I give those people credit because, believe me, we're going to go out this spring into the woods.
Before the poison ivy wakes up.
Right. And, of course, Sue and Ashley wants to go maybe because she's afraid of bears. So we're going to try
no bear sightings, though. Ashley, we don't have any bear sightings here, so you're good.
Ashley would probably find one. So we're going to go out, and the reason is a lot of folks sit on their couch and watch videos and criticize it, right? They criticize it, yet they've never been in the woods, or at least the deep woods, for any long period of time. And these people go out with their own equipment, their own money, and it takes equipment and money to go out to investigate these creatures. And they have come back with evidence, and no one wants to, or a lot of people don't want to believe it. The truth is, there's something there. I'm firmly a believer that there's something in those woods. and it's an intelligent creature, and it's not easily fooled, and it's obviously not easily captured.
I think what we're talking about tonight really shows the intelligence level of these creatures. Because one, let's say that they were here when the Whiskey Rebellion occurred. Like, let's say they were here in the 1700s. There's probably, I didn't go far enough back, but I bet if you went far enough back, you could probably find some Native American legends of Bigfoot in this area. So let's say they were here all this time, and this was their area. They roamed it. They did whatever they wanted to do. And then man started coming like everything else, and these guys got pushed away because if you look, all of the common denominators are water. They knew what they needed to survive, but they also knew they had to get out of here. So they did what any other creature does when their habitat's being taken over, and they got out.
And they did. And of course, we know that, as Sue mentioned, the places they could go are more rural areas. And some areas are, let's be honest, they're not going to develop the mountains out there. That's a place that's safe. It's like where the big sightings all occur out west, those areas, you're hundreds of millions of acres.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, the national forest, you're going to be very safe there because they're not going to build that up. They're not going to put a housing development in the middle of the Allegheny National Forest.
So maybe if you kind of extrapolate this outward, a lot of the Bigfoot that were in more urban areas are gone.
Right.
I'm going to assume that they figured this wasn't a good thing for them, and they left, and they migrated and went and finally found, and I think probably today in 2025, anything that's left in these areas is probably very sparse, very few. The majority are going to be found in the most rural areas of our country.
So let's talk about the two most recent sightings in Washington County.
Okay.
And I pulled these directly from the PBS website, and I'm going to read exactly how they were on the site, how they were submitted by the users. So the first one comes from West Alex, which is, I always get mixed up with this. That's out by Claysville, right?
Yes, West Alex by Claysville.
Okay, good. Remember that for a second. Pin that. Okay. So it was from February of 2019, so about 6-7 years ago, before the pandemic, before Bigfoot moved further out to get away from the COVID virus. He didn't want to wear a mask.
Yeah. Peace out. We're gone.
We're gone. So how it was entered in the website was a truck driver sees a bear running extremely fast going across Highway 70 at mile marker 3 on 2 legs. Now, get this one. It had a long snout like a dog.
So it wasn't a bear.
It wasn't a bear.
And it wasn't technically a Bigfoot. It had to be another type of cryptid, right?
Like a dogman.
Okay, that's the dogman sighting that we've talked about in the past here.
Now put a pin in that too, because we're going to read the next one.
Consider it pinned.
Okay, so the next one is from Claysville.
Okay.
Claysville was in October 2nd of 2023. So 5 years ago? Or 3 years ago?
3 years ago.
3 years ago.
2 years ago.
Okay, so the author says, took my son to Pennsylvania Game Lands shooting range in Claysville, PA. Game Lands 245. As we were leaving on the gravel road, we heard the most loudest, deep screaming sound coming from the hillside of the road on the way out. Shook my boy up pretty bad. He almost threw up as I stepped to look or listen. He was begging me to keep going as he put the window up and was looking. I felt it in my chest, as did he, and I also felt the vibration of it on the steering wheel of my truck.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sort of like the Jurassic Park movement when the glass of water was vibrating from the tremors from the T-Rex.
Yeah. So,
okay,
like we talked about, now West Alex is right there by Claysville. There have been, and again, I need somebody to talk to. I really need a solid person to talk to about this Claysville dogman, because there have been rumors of a dogman out in Claysville. So I have two thoughts here. One, maybe the scream was the dogman, the Claysville dogman, or two, there's a lot of drilling out in a lot of pipe work done out in Claysville. Maybe it was something. Maybe it was some sort of machinery or something going off.
I mean, I've been around it here in this area. I don't know that anything they do sounds like that. We don't know.
We don't know. I'm going to err on the side of caution with this one. That dogman legend is running around out in Claysville, so that's a good possibility. But I don't know. Maybe it was something else. Maybe it was something man-made. Maybe you can debunk this one. But they said that it was like nothing they'd ever experienced before. Well,
and that's the thing with a lot of folks are saying that they have never experienced the howls, basically the creature that's that big. It's hard to miss. Keep in mind, bears aren't 8 to 12 foot tall in this area. We don't have that type of bear here. And bears don't run or sprint on two legs.
And they don't have snouts like a...
They don't have snouts like a wolf.
Like a dog, no. Mm-mm.
So Sue, we're talking about a different type of cryptid there. Now, before we kind of move on here, let me center that out. So dogman is related to a Bigfoot, or is it separate cryptid altogether?
That is a very interesting question. Now, I read a book a few years ago called 100 Bigfoot Nights. And that was an excellent series of books. There were 3 of them. It was based about a family's story of a Bigfoot encounters with their home in Arkansas. And they had both Bigfoot and dogmen. And from what I have heard, both in my own readings and video watching, dogmen are apparently worse than Bigfoot. Like, dogmen are apparently a little more aggressive than Bigfoot. So you would rather deal with a Bigfoot than you would a dogman.
I think the dogman has mostly been seen in the Great Lakes region. I know Michigan has a lot of stories of the dogman. Just like Florida, the Everglades has the skunk ape.
Yes, and the werewolf in Louisiana. I do this every time. The loup-garou?
Loup-garou,
The root-garou.
Root-garou, yes.
Yeah, we'll look up. We'll put the word on the screen because I can't pronounce that.
Now, these are things that we may never get answers to, right? People still keep investigating. Our channel still talks about it because it's interesting and because it's the unknown.
I found an interesting video on YouTube the other day, and I could not take you back to it because I did not pay that much attention to it. I just watched it and then moved on to another one. But the author of the video was saying, I'm kind of tired of hearing your Bigfoot stories. Like, there's nothing credible. Like, you're just telling stories. They've been telling stories for thousands of years about Bigfoot. Yeah. No one has produced any solid evidence that there is actually a Bigfoot. And to an extent, that's true. Like, we've been talking about Bigfoot for thousands of years, and we have yet to have anything other than a few, like, footprint casts, sightings, a few grainy pictures and videos. We have no real hard evidence of a Bigfoot, but that doesn't mean that he's not out there.
Right. Now, when people say that, you can't really argue with it.
No.
Because they're right.
Yeah, that's logical.
On the other hand, in a way, you're looking for a needle in a haystack. Even though Bigfoot is a huge creature, it's a huge creature in an even huger environment. We saw a few here in this area, but if you look at our area, we tend to look at neighborhoods and see a compact area. But when you're, say, a nomad and you don't have a home, the area is much broader. It encompasses not just Washington County, but everything surrounding it. We tend to isolate, this is our county and this is how many Bigfoot sightings were in our county. But that doesn't really matter because it's the whole area. These creatures move, they migrate. So to say we can just maybe grab one, find them, even videotaping them, very difficult in the environment they're in. They fit into the environment.
Well, I think if Washington County tells us anything, it's that these creatures truly are intelligent and don't really want to be found. Because if they wanted to be found, they'd be hanging out with the deer in my backyard.
Yeah.
On a regular basis. But they didn't want to be found. So they moved somewhere else where there were fewer humans who could cause them harm.
Yeah, and I think, you go back to the early American Indians that lived here, they might have had a different viewpoint of that. Maybe the Bigfoot weren't afraid of the Indians. Maybe there was maybe an uneasy truce between them because Native Americans did respect, if you looked at their culture and some of the writings they put on walls and such, they respected Bigfoot as a part of nature. We, on the other hand, look at it as a trophy on the wall, So maybe we'll never get to the bottom of it, but we're going to continue to report on it here. As Sue mentioned, we're going to be doing another Bigfoot's video, 2 weeks, right?
2 weeks, yeah. We're going to deep dive the Kinzua Bridge area in the Allegheny National Forest.
And we're going to go out and we're going to do some just videos out in the outdoors, in the woods and forests. We'll continue to do that because I think it helps you, our audience, get a better understanding for us that aren't experienced Bigfoot hunters. We don't have camping gear. We don't have the special night vision goggles. But we're going to go to make it more realistic and what it's like to be in the woods to try and actually find anything. I mean, we lose people in national forests by the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, right? People. So, and those people usually want to be found.
They usually want to be found, and even if they pass away out there, I'm taking Bigfoot out of the equation entirely. I'm just leaving this all up to chance and the wilderness, and dangerous things happen. We don't even find their bodies.
Yeah, no.
And I'm okay with saying that the reason we haven't found one is because there are a lot of unexplored wilderness areas that we don't touch on a regular basis. Washington County, we're right outside Pittsburgh. We were in a good place for Bigfoot because there were too many people trying to come here so that they could commute into the city. And it was so overpopulated, so we could build this area up.
Maybe 100 years ago.
Yeah, 100 years ago. George Washington could have encountered one.
He might have.
He came through the area.
Right.
But now other parts of the state, the Allegheny National Forest, my sister lives out in the State College area. And I can tell you that when I used to drive from her house back to my hotel that was right off of I-80, I used to hold my breath whether or not I would see a Bigfoot or an elk first.
Right. We're talking middle of nowhere land.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a scary place to drive at night.
Yes, I spent a night up in the mountains near about 2 miles from Penn State at basically a wedding reception. And they had basically an old cabin there, and we ended up not staying because there was some really crazy things happening. So we went to the hotel down further by the State College. But once again, when you looked out, believe me, folks, it's a different feeling when you realize that this is isolated.
Yeah. I'm not 20 minutes from a mall. I'm not 5 minutes from a McDonald's. I can't sit in my living room and listen to I-79.
And no one's going to hear you scream.
Yeah. And we lose people. So yeah, we could absolutely lose a 18-foot creature.
Yeah, and you're looking at a creature that blends in, and we don't know how they have their own community. Do they bury their own?
That's a theory.
We don't know these things.
That's a theory as to why we've never found a body that they bury their dead.
Right. And these are the mysteries. And again, folks, if you like mysteries, legends, and myths like Sue and I do, we've talked about this for many years, then you should like this channel. So please help us out. Subscribe, like, and share the videos. Tell your friends about it. Hit that bell icon so we let you know when the new videos are out. And keep in mind, we're going to continue to broadcast here with every mystery we can find. We're going to be on the road, and we're going to see what we can see out there. And I believe that there's more mysteries to find and more mysteries to talk about here on Nights Around the Fire.
We have to find a reason to go to Claysville.
Right. I mean, I do a lot of traveling myself in the summer, even in the winter. I sort of an urban explorer. I'm finding that is something I want to be now. And I enjoy going to places. And I've been to Claysville, West Alec. I've been to all the places. But now I have a new function to see what mysteries I can find there. And obviously there are. Any final words, Sue?
Just that I don't think that there is any credible evidence that there is a Bigfoot currently residing, Bigfoot or multiple Bigfoot, currently residing in Washington County, Pennsylvania. That Claysville dogman, I am okay saying that he might be out there, but he also feels like just a story because I can't find any full documentation of him. So is there Bigfoot in Pennsylvania? 100%. Yes, I believe that. Is there any in Washington County? No. Do I think there was 40 years ago? Yes.
And if they are in Washington County, they're not by us.
No.
Okay? So if you know of a sighting, if you can document something, if you know of somebody who knows something, give us a text here, or should I say an email?
Send us an email. Or in the comments. You can comment here.
Our email is
strangeworld777@yahoo.com.
capital S.
Sure.
I think it's capital S. Strangeworlds777
We'll verify. It'll be on the screen.
yahoo.com. Yeah, so let us know. And if you know anything else that's mysterious, ghosts, sightings of UFOs, let us know. We want to investigate. We're not professional investigators, but sometimes it's good to have somebody with a fresh look. We want to be that somebody. Please let us know. That's all the time we have today. Thank you, Sue, for another great program. Look out for our next program. Next week, we're going to talk about the Fresno night crawlers, which is a heartwarming story of a pair of pants that went out for a late night stroll. You got to hear this one, folks. So stay tuned for that. Beyond all that, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share our video. And we'll see you next time right here on Nights Around the Fire.
Bye, guys.